All right, welcome to Thursday, December 11th, meeting of the school committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. We'll now open public comment, and if anybody has anything they'd like to say, come up and sit next to Ella. Go ahead. Remember to introduce yourself and say your address.
Okay. I think everybody at this table probably knows who I am, but I'm Ashley Fogg. I live at 5 Cross Street. And thank you for letting me speak. I wrote it out because no matter how many times I speak here, I'm always a little bit nervous. You guys probably can relate to that. So I said, good evening. I am here to respectfully urge the district to not add any additional holidays to the school calendar and instead to prioritize a comprehensive overhaul of our attendance policies. Policies that in its current form do not adequately support the diverse needs of Hopkinton students and families. First, while expanding the holiday calendar may appear to promote inclusivity, the practical impact is that it lengthens an already extended school year. And this has real consequences, particularly when it pushes out students further into late June. Every year, our buildings face extreme heat, with many classrooms lacking adequate air conditioning. We routinely experience heat-related early dismissals because indoor temperatures become unsafe. Additionally, afternoon bus temperatures are extremely high. Some students spend close to an hour on the bus each day, and even my own children have come home overheated from a bus ride home in June. These conditions are not conducive to learning, and they present genuine health risks. No students should be in the environment simply because the calendar was extended to accommodate additional holidays. This is a student health issue, and it must be part of the conversation. Secondly, and critically, Hopkinton's attendance policy urgently needs modernization. Right now, the policy is overly narrow, outdated, and punitive. It recognizes only a very limited set of religious observances and accepts only chronic illnesses as excused. Families dealing with legitimate short-term illnesses, even when documented by a physician, still accumulate unexcused absences and receive automated warning letters. This approach adds unnecessary stress to families and does not reflect the realities faced by today's students. I have raised these concerns in previous school committee meetings, and it was acknowledged as an area needing attention. However, despite it being suggested as a future agenda discussion, no substantive action has been taken. A revised and more inclusive attendance policy should include recognize all religious observances as valid reasons for excused absences, accept short-term illness documented by a physician as excused, not just chronic conditions, and move away from a punitive framework that adds stress to families navigating legitimate challenges. Additionally, the district should implement a formal policy preventing the scheduling of tests, exams, or major projects on religious holidays. Each school year, a calendar of major religious observances should be distributed to all educators, particularly at the middle school and high school levels. This approach ensures that students are not penalized academically for observing their faith and fosters a more respectful and equitable learning environment. These challenges deliver true inclusion without requiring district-wide closures that inadvertently compromise instructional time and student health. Inclusion is achieved through strong, thoughtful policy, not by adding more days off to the calendar. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi there, I'm Allison Orenstein, 199 Wood Street. Thank you for letting me speak. I know I sent an email that you may or may not have seen, but hopefully. So I wanted to speak and ask that the committee respectfully adopt the more inclusive holiday calendar. I think this respects the diversity of our changed and continually changing population here as more and more community members have more diverse holidays. Being able to be both strong students and be able to take your own observances and not have to worry about what's going on in school, I think that that is representative of the community that we've been building and that over time has been changing here. And in fact, this isn't, to change to the other calendar would not be adding days. It would actually be removing holidays that have been granted over the past few cycles. I know that this is something that many people have been asking about and thinking about for a long time. I served on one of the calendar committees a couple of cycles ago. For our students, and especially I will speak for my honors students, the pace of classroom education is intense. And to take a day away for a religious observance puts our students at a risk for not catching up. And I will tell you, my nieces live in Houston, Texas, and they do not have the ability to take the day off. And my nieces would never skip a day. And it's a challenge for them in their own religious observances. But they feel they'd be too far behind if they missed a day of school. So I would respectfully request that you think about the communities that we're building and what we are actually trying to foster in our schools, and think about how a more inclusive calendar does respect that and reflect that. And lastly, I'll just say, to go, because you saw this in the email, but to go on record for those here, the non-inclusive federal holidays calendar only actually does add a fourth day that is not actually for a religious holiday, but adds the non-inclusive calendar adds the 24th off as a day, and that's not a federal holiday. That is actually a reflection of a Christmas-based observance, although I believe it's, it would be great for families who have to travel on the 24th to be able to have that. By calling that a federal holidays only calendar, it's actually kind of squishing that a little bit, because the 24th is not a recognized federal holiday. So thank you very much, and I ask you to consider what I said here. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else that would like to speak tonight? All right, seeing nobody, we are on for student council report. Ella.
Hi everyone. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Awesome. So sports update, winter season has just started up and tryouts are wrapping up. So in the next 2 weeks, winter teams will be starting up games, which is super exciting. And with partnership with the Hopkinton Athletic Boosters, the Hillers Athletic Department has actually uploaded a Hillers Athletic app, which is pretty cool. And key features of the app include team pages, live schedules, scores, game alerts, and links for registration, which is pretty cool and modern. Events for the high school include concerts next week. On December 15th, we have the Jazz Lab, Jazz Ensemble, and Concert Band performing. And then on December 16th, we have the chorus and orchestra performing. Concerts begin at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium, and admission is free. The winter play has been announced as Our Town by Thornton Wilder, and the show dates will be in early March. And the student council has an ugly sweater day on the 23rd, which students are looking forward to. Students and staff are encouraged to wear ugly sweaters, and it's pretty fun and festive. And lastly, a note from a senior: decisions are coming in for early admission and early decision, so spirits are high as a bunch of my peers are beginning to commit. We look towards finals in January and a bunch of exams next week before break, but we're excited for break. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. You'll let us know when you made a decision.
Next week.
Okay. Sounds great. Superintendent's report.
Great. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all. This is the superintendent's report for December 11th, and it's up on the screen as well. First off, last week we had our first kind of bout with some bad weather, almost a snow day. So I just wanted to take a second to thank our bus drivers, our custodial and maintenance staff, as well as the DPW teams for navigating those conditions. There were a lot of moving parts as the forecast continued to shift, so their communication, their guidance, and their teamwork made a huge difference. So we just truly appreciate those groups and all they do to keep our schools running safely, especially when things are messy like that. So we just wanted to thank them. So we'll start with our younger students, and we have this fun little clicker here. We had some fun, engaging, and educational moments since our last meeting that we had that I'd like to highlight. On the left-hand side, there's a picture of the Hiller Mentoring Program in action. We had more than 45 high school students spend the morning at Marathon School working with our kindergarten and first grade classes. Ms. DeBow told me that one of the classes at Marathon stood up and cheered with excitement when they saw the bus drive up with the high school students on it. So it's already been a great program, creating some memorable and meaningful relationships across the district, so we're excited to see where that goes from here. The middle photo is of the meeting of the Eagles Assembly at Elmwood that happened before break, led by our chorus teacher, Miss Liebberg. It was nice to see it firsthand. I had not been to a meeting of the Eagles meeting before, and it's a nice community building event for our second and third graders, a great chance to celebrate belonging and student voice with song. And wrapping up this slide, we had our STEAM Day at Elmwood. Second grade teachers, Miss Kelly and Miss Newton, put together an amazing lineup of activities. The photo here shows Mr. Broninger demonstrating his cotton ball launching skills. And for the record, he beat me by about 2 feet, so I'm looking forward to the rematch at the next STEAM Day. But big thanks to Miss Kelly and Miss Newton for their efforts in organizing this day. Next, we'll transition to the secondary. Go on in. Also a lot happening. We had our HMS drama program, staged Myth Understood, last weekend. A big thank you to Mr. McKeon and Ms. Porzio for their dedication in the student performances. Very cool note, the author of the play was actually in attendance on Saturday night, which made the experience even more special for the cast and crew. Winter sports at both the high school and middle school are underway. Basketball, hockey, gymnastics, indoor track, wrestling, and swimming and diving are in full swing, so we want to wish our athletes and coaches the best of luck this winter season. And congratulations to Mr. Collins, who is a special education teacher at the high school, on being named the MIAA 2024-25 Unified Track Coach of the Year. Really big honor. This photo was from the ceremony earlier this week, photo courtesy of Mr. Pominville, who was in attendance supporting Mr. Collins. As Ella mentioned, we do have some musical highlights. December is our concert series led by Mr. Hay and his team. Last night we had on the 67th day of school, we had the 6th and 7th grade concert. So there was a lot, as you can imagine, of this happening. It wasn't, but the place went bananas when we went with it. Yeah. So that was fun. And then, as Ella mentioned, we have some concert next week at the high school on Monday and Tuesday. And then the middle school also has their band concert on Thursday, the 18th. All start at 7 p.m. Also wanted to congratulate the high school musicians listed over here on the right-hand side of the slide, who have been accepted into the Massachusetts Music Educators Association Central District Festival in Worcester on January 17th, which is a huge accomplishment. It's a very large list, and it's a testament to both the students' talent and also the teachers' support. So congratulations to that group. Next, we have some district updates. We have been partnering with some local municipal partners to get a pilot program off the ground where we are turning the track lights on around the football field Monday through Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
The running community is very excited.
Yeah, we've gotten some really good feedback. It's through the month of December. The why behind it is we wanted to have some access after dark for our community to find a place to walk, to run, to get some fresh air. And like you've said, that we've received some really good feedback. Even on some chilly nights, there's been a lot of people out there, which has been great. So we'll keep folks updated if it's going to be something we continue, but it's been a nice addition so far for us. We're also continuing our work around the competency determination. There was a webinar led by the DESE Commissioner Martinez recently, where all superintendents and high school principals were a part of. Mr. Pominville was there. I'm happy to report that we are in very good shape with how we are adapting to the changes with the new competency determination. So a huge shout out to the high school team for their work in determining what competency and mastery looks like. As the end-of-course assessment and capstone requirements continue to evolve from the state, we'll have more information probably in June of 2026. We'll keep everybody updated, but the work we are already doing with the Vision of the Graduate is putting us in a great place for that. So we're in a good spot for our competency determination. And lastly, building off our November PD Day, I know we talked that we had a keynote speaker focused on AI. We are sending a team from Hopkinton to the National District Leaders Action Summit at the end of January in Natick. And our team will participate in a 2-day conference with the hopes of walking away with a strategic plan for aligning our work pre-K to 12 around this evolving technology. So updates for that coming. Next, I wanted to provide a few quick special education updates focused on improving our responsiveness and supporting our students and families. First, a quick update on digital signatures. As of November 3rd, we fully launched a digital signature system through special programs. Notices and communications were sent out by Ms. Beatty leading up to that date. We've seen a noticeable difference already in how quickly we're getting back IEPs and 504s and consent forms signed and returned. So, as we know, the faster the documents come back, the faster we can put these services in place. So this has been a success for us.
Very excited about this.
Yeah, it is exciting. Second, we've done some restructuring within the Student Service Department, with the former team chair, Maura Hollenbach, stepping into the assistant principal role at Hopkins. We took the opportunity to shift towards a more student-facing model. We dissolved the central office director position and redirected that role into a building-based team chair. Now every school has a team chair directly supporting students, families, and staff. And up here is a graph of kind of who is in what role. Obviously, Jess Beatty is our Director of Student Services. We have our Pre-K Director, Shannon Oberdahl, and our team chairs at Marathon is Jen Shanahan. Elmwood is Beth Callahan. Hopkins is now Kim Goodwin, who previously was our BCBA, and we're currently hiring to backfill her former role. Middle school is Erin Fraklos, and the high school is Mike Donahue. And finally, Nicole Murray, who was a 6 to 12 director, has expanded her role to Assistant Director of Student Services, adding more leadership capacity district-wide. So overall, we felt these improvements were needed to get more boots on the ground and be able to respond more quickly to students and family needs. And wrapping up, our Top of the Hill spotlight this month shines on 2 wonderful leaders in the elementary level. Muriel Kalnin, a 5th grade math teacher in the CTL, and Shelley Moran, our Director of Elementary Math. These 2 have stepped up in major ways and have been a central voice in our elementary math work. Because we as a district at the elementary level have returned to a pre-pandemic MCAS math scores, I know we talked about that at a recent committee meeting, they invited us to attend with some select districts the Celebrating Academic Success Conference last month. And Muriel and Shelley were the obvious choices to represent us, but they not only presented about Hopkinton's data and our instructional approach, but since their presentation was so well received, they've been asked to do it again for other groups of math leaders, which is pretty cool. So we are very fortunate to have both of them. Their expertise, their collaboration, and their leadership has certainly been a direct and measurable impact on our student achievement. So we're proud to recognize the 2 of them tonight as our Top of the Hill spotlight. And that is the superintendent's report for December 11th.
Thank you. School committee chair report, warrants 26060S, 26061S, 26062S, 26063S, 24064S, 26065S, 26066S, 26067S have been approved, and the warrants are in your folder. Annual town report. We are required to submit a write-up for the annual town report. You should have gotten, did we get our it went out to people that are the former one. I'm sorry, I'm a little off. I forgot that this was happening today. So we need to go ahead and start working on that.
Great.
I will be asking for some suggestions and get those, and we will, I believe, touch on it probably in our first January meeting.
Sounds about right.
Sounds good? All right. Liaison reports.
I don't have anything from the Green Committee, but this Saturday for CPAC, I might be stealing your announcement, is Snowman Saturday. And
Very
so it's an RSVP preferred. The email is from Jessica Beatty. If you have a student who receives services, and it's at Marathon, it's always a great event. So we're looking forward to that in my family.
Anyone else?
Nothing.
Great. Wonderful. So we can go right in. We're going to start with budget presentations. And Mrs. DeVoe, you get the first call here.
Hello, good evening. It's hard to believe it's this time of year again. Always seems to go so fast. But here we are talking about the budget planning for next year. So the overview, people have that online. You have a copy of it, so I won't literally read from it, but I will share some highlights from that. The Marathon budget, which does not include the special education supplies or the special education staffing. We combined the general education supplies that everyone uses, so that it impacts everybody. So when we talk about our budget, we're talking about general educators and in that realm. And our budget for next year is proposed at $5,169,543.17. I love how you get like the odd cents. I've got 8 cents somewhere, but some of that comes about with contractual steps and raises as you're factoring in items for supplies, what the anticipated cost is. So overall, that's an increase of 4.7%, which is approximately $232,000. While we have not added staffing, we're not asking for added requests. We've been very well funded over the years. This comes into contractual obligations. We are fortunate that we have a highly qualified staff at Marathon who like to stay. So as they accrue their years and their time with us, they get paid a little bit more, which is fantastic. Typically, if we have changes, it's through retirement or someone's moving on to a different career. So we are not seeking any additional staffing for our needs right now. You did hear of some requests that impact us in a positive way from other presentations. A .5 ESOL teacher, Mr. Lebrad, presented, and ABA paraprofessional from Ms. Beatty due to students that moved in this year. When we look at our projected enrollment for next year, we are still in great shape in terms of our size. That building addition has greatly supported us. We are forecasted to have 289 students in kindergarten, which is 20.6. We'll share a child somewhere. So that's about 19 to 20 students in a class across 14, which is a good number for us. Years ago, when we requested and were successful for the additional kindergarten teacher, we had 24 in a class, and that really is just too much for kindergarten. 20 is a terrific number. Right now, our numbers are 18 to 22 across kindergarten. First grade next year is forecasted for 282 students, and that again would be 19 to 20 students in a class. That's a really good number for us to have. So with the space that we have, those class sizes are really good for us. When we look at other things that might have shifted, our art budget, it is a larger item in our supplies, if you will. It's $3,700. It's approximately $6.50 per K-1 student, which seems like nothing. The amazing things that they create, we are fortunate with the staff that we have, even when they were on a cart teaching, now they've got the room. But when you break it down and think about how much it is per student, our general supply budget is $67,420.50, and that's approximately $103 a student. It's not much. We use a lot of paper. We talked about this at school council, and we had pictures to share the projects. We have art projects with construction paper. We're tearing things, we're cutting things, we're gluing things. We've got chart paper that's plain, that's lined. And that's appropriate for an early childhood school. So a lot of our supplies are consumables, if you will. It's not a product you buy that you have year after year. We need new paper. But the paper, pencil, paper marker is great. Kids need that feedback. We use a lot of whiteboards, which is terrific, but in terms of that writing development, you also need utensils and paper in hand for that. So when you see a lot of paper stuff, there's lots of types of paper. So that's the bulk of ours. It is not very exciting, but we know that we ask only for really what we truly need. And we have been well supported over the years, and this is where we are now. We're in a really good place. So I don't know if you have any questions about any of those details. I can talk about more types of paper.
I had one question.
Sure.
Let's say there's a surge in enrollment.
Yep.
Are there any kind of pressure points with the budget that if you need to add staff, or you know, if the projection is averaging 20.6 or 20.1, where can you go to where you'd have to come back to us at some point mid-year and say, hey, we need another teacher or another specialist?
We
What
could
kind of surge?
So
do
we
need?
could absorb a grade level surge that has even approximately 25 if
Okay.
it's beyond that. Because one year we did have 306 in first grade, and that was over what we had. That was in the last 3 years, one of our most recent highs. And that year we might have had 23 in a class. Because we have the number of sections, it allows flexibility to sort of spread students out. The challenge is, for example, when we had 13 kindergartens and we didn't have that, you can absorb more children over 14 classes a lot easier, because they might have 2 more when you
Gotcha.
think of
And
that.
do we ever, is Dr. Wagman, is he ever typically, I don't know if anyone has this answer, off by 25 kids in
Yes.
the class? He is.
Yes.
All right. I
So
feel like we've
this
been
year,
through
this year
before, and-
we're over 20 from the
Okay.
forecast,
So
and we're still
we
okay.
hit 25, and we hit 25, and you'll need to come back.
I could be okay with 25.
Okay.
If I get to 30,
Yeah, 20, all right.
if I get to 30,
And is there
then it's
anything
going
in
to be
this
tight.
budget that can absorb that, or would you be coming back for more money?
If it was another classroom, no. Only because when you add a classroom, it's not just the classroom teacher. They need art, music, PE, library. So there's a whole package deal that comes with adding a section.
Got it. Okay.
Right, I need more paper too, you're right. So having that 14th kindergarten class was a game changer for us. It really has helped us get down. We've never gotten down to what the target was, 16 to 18 in a class. That's when Marathon was built. That was the target. We were hopeful with the forecast, but then when you hit the nail on the head, this year we were 20 over. So with the lower grades, I think we have great fluctuation with that. Families are moving. This is the opportunity. They want to move, help their child get established in a district. But fortunately, we're able to address that at this time, knock on wood.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Question
no.
about space. Or
Yes.
Before we put the addition on to Marathon, there were a lot of spaces that were being used either as classrooms that weren't intended as classrooms or other special breakout areas
Yes.
that were intended as such. Is the building being used with the addition now in the number of kids that you have? Is it just being used the way that the spaces were intended, or do you still find that you're having to convert spaces into something they weren't intended for?
There's only one remaining space that is not what it originally was intended, and I don't think it will go back. It is the health room that is a preschool classroom. So Health travels. They use what was an office supply cart for their curriculum. So I always say MSBA doesn't reimburse for storage. Advocate. That's what so that storage closet that was office is the curriculum storage now. And with our preschool, that has grown over the years. We now have 6 classrooms. When the building opened, we had 4. That I don't see that changing. But we're okay with that. And the teachers are terrific. They do a tremendous job traveling. We have ordered great carts for them. They're easy to use and maneuver as best we can. It's something that we can work with. But the other spaces that we had used are back to their original purpose. So that's a good question.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Nice job.
All right,
Stay warm out there.
yeah. Mr. Roman.
Do you want our town partners to have the opportunity to ask questions as well?
Yes, anybody have any questions for Mrs. DeBoe?
Appropriations or select board.
Okay, just signal me if I keep going, then try and move us along.
All right.
Hello.
How's everybody tonight?
Good.
Good. So while not budget related, I'm really glad Mr. Bishop shared in his overview that I happened to beat him by 2 feet in that pom-pom
That was
shoot-off.
very
Under protest.
impressive.
I was going to lead with that, so I'm glad that we had that on the record, so I don't have to go there. But no, thank you very much for being here, or for allowing me to be here. I was joking with Mr. Bishop a couple days ago that this is going to be incredibly short, and you all might think that I probably didn't do my job in a thoughtful way, but I want to assure you that we took some time to be really thoughtful about our budget and thinking about what we were looking for next year. So for us at Elmwood, we are not requesting any new personnel, nor are we requesting any increases to our general office supplies account. We do have an increase that we are asking for that's 5.1%. That's about $250,000, just shy of $250,500. And that is nearly entirely personnel services and due to contractual obligations, as Ms. Dubois mentioned there as well. We are also asking for an increase in our non-payroll expense account for copier and equipment maintenance. That's a small amount of money. That's about $1,640 and some change. Other than that, we did request previously through Mr. Person and his team and their budget request a 1.0 custodian position. That's certainly helpful for us for the next year plus at Elmwood, but certainly something as well that would be a really important addition for us as we look to move into Charleswood in just a little bit of time. So that is my very brief update. I don't know if there are specific questions, but I'm happy to answer anything if there are.
Can the position, so I remember when that custodial position was brought to us, it was, at least it seemed like it was more as a lead into Charleswood. Can that position be delayed a year?
It could.
People are,
Yep.
you
So I think
have that person there at the school now, and
Yeah, so I think so to answer your question, sure, yes, I think it could. And I'd want to also defer to Mr. Person a little bit because I know he and I have had some conversation. So I don't want to, misstep on anything that he might portray. We have 3 great custodians in our building right now. They work super hard. They do a wonderful job. And I can tell you if one of them happens to be out, there's missed work that happens. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the nature of the size of the building and things like that. And even with the 3 of them working, there's typically one custodian that opens the building and spends the morning there, and then 2 custodians come on later in the day. It's a big building. It's an older building. So I think there's always things that come up that could use attention. Like I said, the 3 folks we have there now do a wonderful job. So could they continue for a year? Sure. But I do also think that position that we're asking for would be a great addition to the team to help help kind of grow that team and then transition into that building.
yeah, I mean, I get it when Charleswood, I remember Mr. Person mentioned the square footage with Elmwood versus what Charleswood's going to be. It's almost needed, but, okay.
But you bring up a good conversation, though, too. So last year, we added an assistant principal, which was important for your success right now, but also looking forward to, we're going to have expanded population at Charleswood. Some of this we are bringing on a little earlier, but it's better than one huge budget hit a few years from now when we bring on Charleswood and we'll have other increased expenses if we're already working this into our budget and making part of our.
Yeah, no, I get it. If we can save that money, I would like to save the money. But again,
I think we're going to need it at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. And I think even, I don't have the numbers in front of me now. I talked to Mr. Person, and Susan, jump into, I know you were part of these conversations. In terms of the square footage that we currently have now and the custodial staff that we have, we don't really even have the proper amount of custodians district-wide based on the square footage we have. So this would help with that and be a nice transition as we move forward in Charleswood.
Yeah, and so I'll just add, so there is something that we look to, which is a national standard of expectations for custodial and the amount of square footage when you take into account what type of student is there, number of bathrooms, et cetera, the whole thing. And so typically they say a level 3 is what you would look for most for school facilities, which would mean a custodian was cleaning between 28 and 31,000 square feet. Our Elmwood custodians right now are cleaning 40,000 square feet. So even at the existing building that they're at a level 4, which the standard says is normally not acceptable for a school environment. So we are looking to get our standards more up to the appropriate square footage across the district.
It seems a couple of years ago, Mr. Person did a presentation on, and there were positions requested that we have deferred, and I think we've added some of them in, but I don't know, maybe not the full amount.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not, yeah.
Yeah. So keep in mind, we've added additions onto almost every building, and we have not added the custodial staff along with that. So we are behind, so.
And is there some movement between the buildings if, like, people need help and other custodians might help in other buildings? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
the process in that, yeah.
Yeah, there's always coverage. They work together.
Great.
Yeah.
Gina and Joe.
Yeah. Any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Mr. Cotter.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's funny, I joked about editing mine before I gave it to Mr. Bishop, and I see a typo, so I will point that out when I get there. Now that I've had time to sit with it. But thank you. It's exciting. I'm excited to be here and present the 26-27 budget proposal for Hopkins School. We are proposing a budget for $5.5 million, just over $5.5 million, which most of that, again, is contractual obligations. This year we have 669 students enrolled. We average about 30-ish students, gain about 30-ish students after we look at our move-outs and move-ins from year to year. So in the paragraph it says 336 students in 5th grade. That should say 337, which is correct on the bullet, so just so you know. So we're looking at having class sizes of about 22 to 23 in 15 sections of 4th grade and 15 sections of 5th grade. We always shoot for anywhere between 20 and 24, so almost right in the middle, which is great. We do not have any personnel requests under our building budget. However, I know Mrs. Beatty had presented a 1.0 FTE intensive special education teacher under her budget, so that is definitely a need that we have coming for us with the students that we're looking at having. So I just wanted to include that here to show that we are in support of that. We did decrease our general supplies budget by $4,185. We had some money in there for some social studies, professional development that we do not need next year, and some science materials. So that brings us to about $105 per student. Mr. Bo just beat me on the low end there, so congratulations. But again, that also a lot of that goes to like science notebooks, math notebooks, readers notebooks, and paper. We still cut and glue a lot of things too, because kids really like that.
It all comes home. We know.
Yes. Yep. And you can't throw it away, but you really want to.
No, we really can.
I know. The last bullet, I think, is a really important one for us to discuss. We are requesting a $5,600 increase to purchase 3 musical instruments for in preparation for becoming a 5 to 6 music program. In consulting Mr. Hay and our music teachers, 6th grade begins to access higher level instruments, and they are all at the middle school. And so the amount that they have at the middle school, we would not be able to then share down at Hopkins. So I did work with Mr. Hay to project out what we would need by the time we would be running that 5 to 6 music program. So this is part of that. And so we're hoping to acquire some of those instruments earlier on, so I'm not coming to you for $20,000 in 1 year. But what we did do, I worked with our band director, Mrs. McDonald, and selected instruments that our 5th graders could also benefit from. So by trying to get these instruments in for next year, they will be used by our 5th graders. And so that was for the French horn, the half-size string bass, I knew I was going to do that, and the 3/4 size cello. So, And we will be also supporting that with some of our fundraising through our gift account as well, to make sure that we're able to fulfill all that. That's it.
My question is the same as I have for Mrs. DeBoe, which is what kind of, how many students could you absorb to stay underneath that 24? You said 24 is, you want to keep it below 24?
I'm always comfortable at 24.
Yeah.
When
So
you
is that
talk
gonna
about
get-
25, you look at like the class, the makeup of the class.
Right. So is it another 30, you'd need another 30 outside of what's projected?
I would have to double what I'm projecting.
Okay. And if that
Which-
happens, do you need to add teachers or add sections or?
Yeah, we would have to add a section, which again always comes with some more thing, like the way you approach related arts. As you get older, you can manipulate that a little bit differently because you
Yeah.
can combine classrooms where like at the kindergarten level, you're not going to want to do that. The good news is we actually have space to do that now. That does relieve a little bit of the pressure in that regard.
Okay.
But I feel like we're in a good place.
Yeah.
We like I said, we have move-outs, and then with the move-ins, it's usually around 30, so that would have to double for us to feel
Right.
any kind of pressure.
But I forget, is Dr. Wagman, that's a human or is that a company?
So you
That's a human, right? So he's been wildly off in the past, right?
No, he's been pretty well.
Oh,
The
I thought
person we had before that.
Oh, it's the
right?
one, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay. All right, that makes me feel better. Okay.
yeah. We were using a company
Okay, got it.
prior.
Got it.
Which has humans in it.
Good point.
Could be.
We could be better off going with AI. I don't know.
All right, well, all right, if he's been pretty accurate, then
Yeah.
at least at these two schools, we should be in good shape.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
Any questions? Oh, you had a question.
No, I was just going to ask you this, when you say you have space, that's the new addition coming online for next year.
Correct,
if you-
which we are moving into over break, so
That's very exciting.
we're getting there. Yeah, the new gym looks awesome. We put the Hopkinton H in the middle as the logo, so
Will the gym be open after break as well?
Mhm.
I didn't realize that. That's great.
the gym and the multipurpose room, which is right next to it, so looks awesome.
That's great. Questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lefebvre.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me tonight to present the HMS budget for next school year. The biggest challenge facing us next year is student enrollment. It's going to be a very big year for our building. So my requests are mostly in personnel to try to mitigate the impact of that. So there are two significant requests in here for personnel that I'd like to share my thoughts and my planning on. So as you can see in the grades, we're looking at, class sizes between 24 and 26. That's for the academic areas, or like desk-based classrooms, as I like to call them. The first personnel request of a reading interventionist is a creative approach to addressing those class sizes, and I'll explain that in a moment. But in the related arts classes, because there are fewer sections of those, fewer teachers, we're going to be looking at an average of 30 students per class. So my request for 1.0 FTE in related arts is to, again, mitigate the impact of that class size. So,
What would that reduce it to?
depends on where I put it. So I'm going to look at the sections and do some projecting. But right now, I'm thinking to put that in visual arts. Because a teacher that's licensed in visual arts can teach both of the art classes that we currently run. So I'm hoping to, put that in there and maybe bring those down to 27, depending on the grade.
And what's that position? What's a 1.0 FTE?
Related arts.
Related art. What's that salary? What's that added cost?
It's about 77.
Apologize, I doubled it
If we were
here.
to do the average, like we usually do when we budget.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a challenge to put a position into that program, right? Because if you put it in to certain disciplines in related arts, it basically cuts those classes in half, right? So then you actually have some small class sizes. But to put it in art, in my opinion, is a creative approach because, again, it can teach both of those disciplines, so you're benefiting 2 classrooms instead of one.
What are the 2 art classes?
So we run a digital art course, digital art, photography, computer graphics, and then we run your quote-unquote more traditional art class, pencil, paper, painting.
More paper. Thank you.
So that position will reduce it by 3 students. Is that significant?
It's significant in the computer arts area because of the number of machines that we have. And when you look at how our traditional art classroom is set up and just table groupings, amount of supplies, ability to move through the room. And again, that's an average. It never works out that perfectly.
Right.
So,
Okay. I just wasn't sure if we're spending that money to have 1 or 2 fewer kids in a class, or 6 or 7, where it's obviously significant and, it's the juice or the squeeze on it. And so that's helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome. So the other position, again, just trying to think of how I can, work through the impact of class sizes in the academic areas, is the ELA interventionist. So a challenge with our schedule is to add like 1 English teacher. Well, there's not really an impact throughout the schedule for that. So looking at the makeup of our classes, when we start approaching 26 per class, the ability range is very significant. And one way that we really feel that the difference in variabilities is in their reading ability. And that has impact across, obviously, all subjects. So the concept here with the reading interventionist would be to service 6 to 10 students per grade that are not served on an IEP. But when we look at their results for STAR and MCAS, they're struggling readers. So to get them to access the material in classes, like obviously English language arts, but also social studies and science, we're hoping that this individual would do 2 things. 1, serve small pull-out groups during our Hiller blocks, but also push into classes to not only service students in the regular ed classroom setting, but also to help the classroom teacher with planning instruction for all students. So again, the thought behind this is to get an impact across multiple disciplines, help us mitigate the effects of class size, and to have some help for the teacher. I mean, a certain amount of differentiation is possible, but with bigger classes, you're looking at a significant range in ability in reading.
Can I ask a question about that? So putting the reading interventionist in would provide certainly additional supports for them and
Yep.
the teachers across the disciplines. Those kids would not be taken out of they would still be
That's
part
correct.
of the larger class. Okay.
Yeah. The only exception to that would be when that's a planned part of a lesson, which we do in like a typical co-taught section, but yeah.
I was asking just because in my head I was thinking, are we looking at leveling? Are we looking at targeting interventions on kids?
It's targeted intervention so that we're not looking at leveling.
That's what I was hoping the answer was.
Yeah.
And this is enough to fully meet the needs? Probably not.
It's an attempt to.
It's attempt to.
Is there a metric that we can use to, after a year, it might be 2 years, to say, okay, that was money well spent?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I look at that data with our current middle school ELA director. We sit down and look at student growth over several years, before they're in our building, after they leave our building. So we're looking at student growth percentile. We do that down to the individual student level, so absolutely. That's how we would use that data, that's the STAR assessment, as well as MCAS, to determine what students we're going to work with. Yeah. And once you've narrowed it down, to that like pod or pool, whatever you want to call it.
And then you can
easier to
track
their results.
Their results.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, this is new, so we're putting, a lot of thought into how we would use it, where we would get the most impact. So that would certainly be part of it. Where it gets a little bit more indirect, and it would be interesting to try to see how we could track this, is, because we have that PLC structure at the middle school, if I have this person's schedule designed where they can attend a PLC, they're not only impacting lesson planning and instruction in the section that they're in, but also the other sections of that PLC. So you modify a lesson in a science classroom, a piece of reading, a document, that can then be used across all sections, not just the one that they're servicing. So those are my personnel requests.
And so that's a specialized license, the reading interventionist, or a special training?
It is, yep.
Yeah. That's great. And that would be effective for our students who are dealing with some level of dyslexia as well? Like it would help support those students who maybe don't qualify for an IEP?
Yeah, most of those students would qualify for an IEP, but this would be for our struggling readers.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. My other increase is in math text. So this we started doing this school year, which was sending out math packets to a printing company to be printed off-site. So essentially, in grade 8, we're not really using a math textbook. We're using a textbook that's been designed by our own teachers to meet our standards. So it functions as a workbook. It's not simply like math worksheets that they're working through. It's full of like graphic organizers, different syllabi for different points of the year. So that is an increase this year. I had kind of put it into supplies last year, but it more appropriately belongs in math textbooks. So that's why you're seeing that increase there. That's my budget request next year.
Come on, Joe. You got to come up here because nobody can hear you.
Am I going?
Cover. Or come here.
You know what? Come over here and sit next to me.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Sorry.
I heard the question, though. Yeah.
Just clarifying, what was the overall budget request in the year over year?
I have it, 480,000 is the increase, 6.1%.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Palmerville.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for having me. We are excited to present the proposed budget for the high school. Just to make sure everybody understands how that's come to, we have several meetings with subject matter leaders, directors, assistant principals, support staff, with the goal of putting together a fiscally responsible budget while at the same time meeting all the needs of our students and our teachers so that everybody can be successful. So we think that we've done that. We do have, for the budget proposal, the overall budget is $12,017,760, which is an increase of 6.3. As far as personnel goes, there is a 6.5% increase, which represents contractual increases in obligations. We do have one new personnel request, which is a 1.0 FTE, and that would be for an assistant principal, to add another assistant principal, and I can add some context to that. The reason for that request is to meet the increasing enrollment demands. So next year we are projected to be at 1,354 students, which does track with the progression that we generally have. To put some specific numbers to that, we have 2 amazing assistant principals currently, and looking at our enrollment of 1,296 students, each one of them has 649 students on their caseload. In preparation for this and add a little bit of additional context, we did send out a poll to 26 area schools to kind of get a general idea of what we would be looking at and what they have for average number of students per assistant principal. The average there is 460 students per assistant principal. To dig down a little bit deeper, we looked at schools that were similarly sized or are going to be similarly sized when we look at our next year's projections, which is over 1,300. So we did look at Franklin High School. They have 483 students per assistant principal. King Philip has 383 students per assistant principal. Algonquin has 400 students per assistant principal, and Needham has 550 students per assistant principal. So looking at it from that perspective, obviously, there's a lot of different things. When we talk about assistant principals, usually people think about discipline primarily, but there are a lot of other functions that the assistant principals do, and I'll get to that in one moment. But one of the reasons for the request this year is keeping an eye on the future. If we project out next year, if we remain at 2 assistant principals, they would each have 677 students on their caseload. The year after, at 2 assistant principals, they'd have 719 students on their caseload, and then in the 28-29 school year, they'd each have 751 students on their caseload. So just to give a little bit of an idea of why we're requesting that now, we want an eye on the future, knowing that we have some very large classes coming up from the middle school. It's important to have that person in place, and we're hopeful that that will be able to happen. So adding another assistant principal better meets the needs of students and families. So smaller caseloads would allow a more timely response to parent and student concerns. It would also provide additional support when it comes to disciplinary issues. We're focusing on restorative practices when it comes to discipline, and that requires a lot of planning, that requires a lot of implementation, and that requires a lot of time. So as we increase the number of students that each assistant principal is working with, that all factors into it. In addition to that, beyond discipline, we also look at it from an evaluative and instructional lens. So having an additional assistant principal would provide more opportunities for feedback for staff. It would be able to break down the number of teachers that are evaluated by the assistant principals, because they have a lot of teachers right now. I think each one has around 40 to 50 staff members that they evaluate, which is a very high number, and having an additional one would be able to break down a little bit more, provide more opportunities for classroom observations, for instructional practices, and discussions with PLCs and course partners. So even though assistant principal's discipline is a part of it, and probably the part that most people think of, the role of the assistant principal has changed dramatically in the last 10 years, and it includes a lot of the instructional practices and a lot of the data-driven instruction and conversations that we have to have. That is our only personnel request for next year. As far as our non-payroll items, we actually have a decrease of $400.11, or 0.1%, compared to last year's. Of the 34 non-payroll accounts, 21 have either been level funded or shown a decrease as compared to last year. And with the 13 remaining, only one shows an increase of $2,000 or more. So even the other ones that have increases, they are pretty small. They're under the $2,000. The one that goes over $2,000 is the general supply budget, and that is, we are proposing an increase of $4,200. That is to reflect increased use of paper. I know that's been a hot topic tonight, but that's been an increased use of paper, and that contributes to, we've been having more in-class writes, as I'm sure Ella can probably attest to.
That.
Yeah, so we've had more in-class writes, and that requires additional paper. We're looking to get 3 additional pallets of paper for next year, and with rising paper costs, $4,200 will cover that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You anticipated my question if the cost of paper was going up.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I had a general question. The salary estimates, that's all in, that's insurance, or that's just salary, and then on top of that is?
So insurance is carried on the town side of the budget.
Okay. So the 125, though, that's just salary?
That's just salary.
Straight salary, okay.
Correct.
And you spoke a little bit about what a caseload entails. So I understand it's primarily handling questions from parents or students, and then also evaluating teachers in the high school.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now, included within that, and I will say from my previous role as assistant principal, I can speak to that a little bit more, but there are a lot of questions that come up in anytime there is a situation with a student, a question about like a course change or any kind of academic questions, any questions like that. They serve as point people for the student to go to. They serve as a point person for the parents to go to. So that communication,
Right.
it's not only, you do end up over the course of time interacting with a majority of your caseload, and you get to know them quite a bit. So there are a lot of different facets that go into that.
Got it. And what has the caseload been per assistant principal? So next year it'll be 649.
Correct.
What's it been the last 3 years on average?
So this year it actually is 649, and it's been comparable. Some years in like the class of 2024, they had 285 seniors, but for the most part, we've kind of hit that 649 in that
It's about
realm.
650 per assistant principal.
Correct.
Consistently the last 3 or 4 years.
Correct.
And I would
our-
say, yeah.
And our high school is doing great.
It is, but behaviors are changing, and the job is becoming much more difficult. And I think that when you look at 50 evaluations of an assistant principal, that is really, really high. I think a lot of school systems will have department heads evaluate, other directors evaluate. They don't have that at the high school. So if we're really talking about not only just being crisis management, triaging situations when kids bring it up, but also being instructional leaders, the numbers that they have on their caseload right now is a little bit unmanageable for them, especially when you compare us to other communities around us that have more assistant principals doing other things that we think we could.
And
One school's doing better than us.
I guess define better. Yeah.
I don't know. We're
But I don't want to be
top-rated high school.
Yeah,
one of the top-rated. Our price per student pay. Is we're.
But I think at this point, when we're looking at this budget, we've been very careful of only adding what we think we need. And I think if these aren't positions we're going to add, we're going to see differences to that.
So I get that. I also understand as we grow, but I don't, I guess I would push back on let's fill positions in anticipation that we'll need them 2 or 3 years down the road. When we need them, let's spend the money. If you're saying we need to spend an extra $125,000 on a third assistant principal next year because we need it, and that's going to really be kind of, I always would prefer to spend money student-facing, and I get worried about administrative bloat and just spending that money when I don't
But
know
these
how
are
much it's going to affect
student-facing.
those. I'm aware of that. That's why I'm asking these questions, saying,
No, it's a fair
making
question.
sure it's student-facing, and we need to spend it now. The town is spending a ton of money on schools and a lot of other things, and I think having some fiscal responsibility and just pushing back a little bit to make sure we need it, and it's going to be student-facing. Again, it puts me in a little more comfortable position.
I think one thing. Oh, sorry.
I understand the questions. I think that the potential risk when we're hearing that the things that the assistant principals and the principal at the high school are managing, changing behaviors, changing demographics, and all the access to all the technology, and managing that, I think if we wait until we need it, defining what need means becomes tricky, because are we waiting until we have students who are failing out? Do we wait until we have students who are doing 10 points less successful on their standardized testing? Are we waiting until 15 more students don't meet competency requirements for graduation? How do we define failure? So if we only plug the ship when we are now bailing it out, versus acknowledging, and I missed Needham's number. How many? I think Needham was the highest number that you shared, and I missed that one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so Needham, just to give you a little bit of idea there. So they have 3 assistant principals. They have 1,650 students, which is certainly more than us. But I will say, based upon the projections in 3 years, we're not going to be that far off of them. They're actually asking for an additional dean of students to add to the 3, and they are at 550 students each with their current assistant principal.
So they're at
numbers.
550 each, and we're at 649 each right now.
Correct. And to quantify, to add one dimension, I didn't share this earlier because I was throwing a lot of numbers out there, so I just wanted to kind of spread it out. But one thing to kind of quantify the number of disciplinary referral increases that we've had, we took a look at August to November last year and August to November this year. We have a 28% increase of disciplinary referrals. Now, all of those disciplinary referrals aren't all disruptive behaviors per se. There might be students missing from class or things like that. But that is a marked increase. And as you increase the number of students, you're going to see similar levels of increase. And that's a big number. That's a big number. And being able to have meetings with each of those students closing the loop with communication, and I do think that Ms. Tyson, Ms. Allen do an amazing job of communicating with parents, but there is a lot of other things that come up along those lines, and when you're trying to do something in a timely manner, and one of the things that we always pride ourselves on is being able to address behaviors in a timely manner to change behavior and to be able to have those conversations, but those all take time. But that 20% increase is a marked increase, and I think that's something that we hope will decrease over the course of the year when we look at it comparatively, but that is something to consider.
And we've been seeing similar things at the middle school, I believe, too, for the students that will be coming to you next year and the year after.
A couple of questions. One is just back to looking at the caseload. When you say each assistant principal is roughly so many students, is that a figure of like you're just kind of figuratively dividing it up, or do the students actually get divided by assistant principal?
So we divide it alphabetically.
Okay.
And we think that's really, really important
Yeah.
because you can, especially over time, you establish relationships with those families. So the 649 is just a straight up, we took the number and divided it by 2, but the reality is it might not work out like that.
That's interesting. I just, from a parent perspective, because everybody's kind of got all hands on deck, it's not always as clear from the outside. So that's an interesting.
And when I worked with students whose last names were L through Z, I can definitely tell you that the disciplinary referrals do not break evenly. So you said those are not alphabetical. So yeah, those are not alphabetical. So those you could have, there are various times in which you're dealing with a lot of different situations, or there's other things that come up, and so they work collaboratively a lot, but just from a numbers standpoint.
The other question I had is, who administratively in the high school typically is involved in bullying investigations and bias-related incidents?
So it's an excellent point. So that would definitely be a collaborative with both assistant principals. One being because oftentimes there are students who are on both parts of the alphabet. But in addition to it, because of the regulations and the way that our protocols are in place, you have to have 2 adults throughout that entire process. So when you're doing the interviews, when you're having all of those, so both assistant principals participate in that. They do bring in the counselors for help and support, but both will be involved in that. So if you were to have a bullying situation, without getting into many specifics, if you were to have a bullying situation, because of the timely nature that you have to notify in 24 hours, all of those kind of things, that becomes essentially a week where both assistant principals, that's the priority, and there are time frames that we have to, that are dictated by the state. And so that would be like a week where both of them would be participating in that.
And then one final question.
Absolutely.
I swear I'll let that go.
No problem.
But talking about restorative practices, and I know that from conversations we've had over the past maybe 2 or 3 years, that and I believe it's district-wide, not just the high school, moving away from things like, and I know there's legal precedent for it, moving away from just sort of an automatic suspension for this or that, and moving into restorative practices. My assumption is there's a significant time difference between saying, okay, yeah, Mr. Pominville, you did X, you're going to end up Y, as opposed to sitting down and doing the restorative piece with the students involved.
Absolutely, and if you're doing it properly, there is a big time and planning component to it because you want to make it a meaningful experience for the students. I will say that we have had a very strong response to our restorative practices, and I think it's because we're dedicating the time necessary to make sure that each one is specific to the behaviors and also meaningful for the students. However, I will say that it's not just time sitting with students and having those interactions, going through those things. It's also the planning and preparation that goes into it. So there's quite a bit of time dedicated to that.
Great, thank you.
Oh, of course.
Appreciate all that.
This is probably a silly question, but say, for example, you had a student named Chris Masters. So he's an M. He's in the middle.
Correct.
Does he get changed between, like, if the student population coming in has more people in the beginning of the alphabet, does he get, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely
like, you
do.
come in 9th grade, you stay with that assistant.
No, you stay with that assistant principal.
Okay.
So yeah, we do our counselors break down alphabetically as well for the students, and it's all about relationships. It's all about
Yeah,
creating
that's why I
relationships
was
and maintaining that. And I will also say, I was in that role for 11 years, and the number of times that you have 4 siblings in a family and having the relationship, I think, for the parents. We talk, obviously, rightfully so, about the students, but the parental relationships and the trust that gets created over time with those assistant principals, especially those that you speak to often, it's important that that trust plays a huge part in that and being able to have those conversations.
You know who your assistant principal is.
So it's important. It is important. It's important to be able to do that. But no, we don't like to shift. We like to maintain those relationships and keep that there. So you could definitely have a disproportionate amount on one side or the other.
I figure.
Yeah.
Oh, Jean has a question. Come on up, you. Join me.
Thank you. Hi. Too short. It's been a long time since I've been in the high school office, but I don't remember there being office space for a third assistant principal, and I didn't see anything in your expense budget. And so I just was curious about how you're gonna, where they're gonna sit, and how you're gonna pay for that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a very good question. So we met with Mr. Person to discuss potential options for creating space within that. It would require a little bit of space, but we did plan that out as we talked about this. So I believe he already give
Yeah,
his...
so
Yep,
that-
that's part of his, yeah.
Yeah, so creating that office space was carried in the building and
In
grounds
his budget, okay, because I thought, all right, that makes sense now that I remember that. And I think that I saw on the middle school report that they have almost 400 students in 8th grade this year. How many students are in the senior class?
So there's about 322 students in the senior class.
And I know some will go to private school, but so it looked from their numbers that you're not going to have fewer students.
We are not, and I will say that looking at recent, not projections, but looking at recent trends, because we keep track. So this year, in over the course of the summer, we received 65 new students.
Wow.
I will say that a majority of those students every year are going to be ninth graders. A lot of families will wait until the end of middle school to make that transition to high school, but they want to come in ninth grade. So I would say probably we have within 25 to 35 new freshmen each year. So when you look at the numbers from the 8th grade, you subtract those that might be going to private schools and stuff like that, we probably have a net of 25 to 30 students each year in that freshman class. So if you just look at the numbers, then you add about 30 to it, that's probably what we'll be looking at. And then in addition, we accumulate more over the course of the years.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you, that was all I had.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you. Thank you.
appreciate it. Mr. Andrade.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just to start, before we get into the budget, I want to, Ella and Mr. Bishop.
Take Doctor.
Mr. Bishop mentioned winter sports starting and everything being underway. Tonight is actually the first night of the regular season. So there's a swim meet going on over in Milford and a track meet at the Reggie Lewis Center. So I'm excited to kind of see all that get going. As far as the athletics budget goes, so I met together with my department, with Susan, with Mr. Bishop, Mr. Palmville, to come up with an overall budget increase for the next school year of $38,976, or 3.1% increase. Much of that is in contracted services. Some of that is from 2 stipends for personnel that were requested at the October 9th school committee meeting for our varsity gymnastics and assistant varsity gymnastics stipends for the new gymnastics team, which is kicked off this year. The increase in contracted services is $25,889, and this is due to the continued increased costs of ice time at the rink, our pool rental rates, our transportation fees, and our official fees. We are not increasing anything for our budget for athletic supplies or equipment, as we've been pretty diligent about what we've ordered, and I don't feel that at this point we need to increase that account.
Any questions?
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor George. Wonderful. And Mr. Bishop is going to do the technology.
Yes, I'll be presenting the Technology, Learning, and Innovation budget on behalf of Dr. Ghosh. The FY27 Technology, Learning, and Innovation budget is around $3.1 million, which represents a 4.2% increase, or $128,000 over the FY26 budget. The proposal supports 3 core priority areas. 1, maintaining essential systems and infrastructure, keeping our core platforms secure and reliable, such as PowerSchool, network projections, and filtering tools, while also trying to modernize our HR systems to improve efficiency across the district. 2 is supporting data services and technical needs. We are not requesting any new staff for the FY27 budget in technology, but we are continuing to invest in the data tools and technical services that are critical as technology becomes increasingly central to teaching and learning and as we adapt to the AI world. Number 3 is refreshing hardware and renewing instructional software. We're sustaining access to the digital tools students and staff rely on every day, including Chromebook replacements and classroom equipment upgrades, along with software renewals tied to rising enrollment. So in regards to the personnel and expense, quick overview. Again, we're not adding any personnel requests for FY27. We're holding with the current staffing. The key expense changes by account. We have 4 accounts that show an increase in his budget, 2 that are a decrease, and 1 that's level funded. I'll go through those quickly. The tech contracted services is up 12%, and that's the growth in software licenses and the HR Power School upgrades. The tech infrastructure account is up about $15,000, which supports the technology office relocation with necessary wiring and security upgrades. I know we talked about them kind of moving over to the central office at a previous school committee meeting. The AV equipment is actually down $17,000. We're reducing some projector purchases to try to stay within the budget targets that we've talked about. The instructional technology hardware is also down $12,000. That's around the Chromebook replacements and the cycles that we have for Hopkins and Elmwood. I think there's about 1,300 total units that we're working towards. The instructional software is up about $58,000. That's kind of directly impacted by some expanded special education tools, some new computer science courses that we're offering, as well as a pilot AI-supported teaching program that we're exploring. The library digital tools is up about $3,000. Sora and Noodle tools, continued access to those research platforms. And the last account is level funded. It's the technology training, which maintaining the safety systems trainings and professional learning and development that we have for our staff. And so, again, no new staff members for the FY27 technology budget, but just general increases based on software, hardware, tools that we use. And I'm happy to attempt to answer the questions on behalf of Dr. Ghost for this account.
I had a more general question. So it looks like each budget's about 4 to 6% year-over-year increase, and virtually all that is driven by the negotiated contractual salary applications, right? And I forget from when we did the contract. Is 26, 27 the largest percentage bump?
Yes. It is.
And then it, not levels, but it...
So this...
I mean, I know it depends on the lanes and...
Right.
That's a good question.
All that.
So there was an additional step added to get our teachers up to market, and the fiscal year 26-27 is that additional step.
Okay.
So it's the
That's where
highest impact.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
So just a quick reminder, so that next week, Ms. Rothermick and I will be presenting the superintendent's recommended budget, which is taking all of the budgets together and presenting in front of you as well as the select board. So.
Be joining us.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
It's the drum roll for the percent.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yep. We're going to pull the curtain. There we go.
Betty.
I don't know if it'll be confetti. Maybe, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Mr. LaFave, you're up again. Big night for you.
Thank you again. I'm presenting a reallocation of money in our stipend budget to move into newly established clubs, and they're essentially in the memo on the left are clubs that, for a variety of reasons are not running. That could be based on student interest. It could be a staff member who's no longer advising a club, just clubs that are not happening this year. And the column on the right is how I'm requesting to reallocate those. The first 2 items are spring trips for our 7th and 6th grade. This is a lot of work to travel with over 300 kids to a location. It's a lot of time outside of the classroom, so it seems an appropriate funding for those trips. I'm not super familiar with the K-pop club, but I do know that it's dancing. There's a K-pop club at the high school, so we're looking to, I was going to say vertical alignment, but that sounds ridiculous for K-pop. But so we
want us to approve this. I want to see K-pop front and center.
I will prepare that for
they're
next.
hunting demons.
I'll prepare that for next time. Finance Trading Club is a new area of student interest that we're looking to support. And then, as you know, we've made major strides in our unified athletics offerings. So I'm looking to reallocate some money to fund this stipend for a Special Olympics liaison that involves scheduling buses, scheduling events with other teams, booking facilities for events like we hosted the Unified Bocce Jamboree for our area, which had 5 or 6 other schools in attendance. And so it's a lot of work in planning for that.
Make a motion, move to approve the HMS stipend reallocation.
Did anyone have any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. All right, Mr. Masters.
Aye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard Kavanaugh, yes, sir. And Ms. Stevenson? Here? No? Maybe not.
Can I hear it in the other room?
Just them in there.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. It's approved. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. LeBave.
Thank you.
That was great. Paracrest, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you. Just want to thank the principals for coming out. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Did a great
thank you
job.
so
Thank
much.
everybody.
Have a good night. You have a very early day tomorrow. We appreciate your time.
Friday. It's just a school day.
We're all starting at 5 a.m.
Oh,
tomorrow.
all right. I didn't know if there's something special that starts earlier.
I don't know. Especially in the middle of the high school.
Yes, it does. Sure does. All right, so I'm going to, on behalf of the Student Service Department and Ms. Beatty, I'm requesting the addition of 2 full-time Level C ABA paraprofessionals at the high school. This request is driven by IEP compliance for 2 newly registered students with intensive needs who have joined us this year, just in the past month. By adding these positions, we can fully implement each student's IEP and provide a level of service and support they are legally entitled to. It also allows both students to remain in district, which I know we've talked a lot about, rather than requiring an out-of-district placement, which keeps them connected to our community and is far more cost-effective for the district. The estimated cost is approximately $60,000, and we anticipate covering that through a combination of the IDAA grant as well as the operating existing budget. I think it's important to mention by maintaining these services in district, we expect to see some savings reflected in FY27 because the programming and staffing will already be established and supporting students earlier in their educational journey, right? So it's already been budgeted for potentially placements for next year. If we're able to keep the student in district, we'd be able to
The
save
big
money.
savings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's, I know there's been some communication. I know Ms. Beatty's has been working closely with the students, the families, the team at the high school, and it is necessary for compliance. So we're looking for your approval on these 2 positions.
I move to approve the 2 1.0 FTE ABA professionals level C.
Second?
All right, Mr. Masters.
Yes.
Ms. Veronica.
Yes.
Ms. Richards Kavanaugh.
Yes.
I'm a yes, and it's approved. I guess we don't.
Yeah, next.
Not here. We don't have to do roll call, right? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is a donation to the high school. I'm requesting the approval to accept a donation of a viola valued at $800 for our music department. So we're looking for a motion to accept that donation.
I move to approve the donation of a viola valued at $800 for the music department.
Second?
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. That passes. We are moving on to our school calendar. To remind everyone, we are voting between 2 school calendars. We are voting the federal holiday only, with the exception of a half day. Is it a half day? No, it's a day off on Christmas Eve. And the inclusive calendar. And I do have to thank everybody from the community who's weighed in on this. We've gotten numerous emails about this. We had great discussions, or actually, we didn't discuss at all. We just heard from many different community members during our 2 listening sessions. And we also was included in the packet information about a survey that was done for staff. There was a variety of opinions that were weighed in during that time. We did not discuss any of them beforehand, or we did not respond back to everybody, but we do appreciate everybody's comment. I thought we could go around and kind of give rationale or discussion about what we've heard. I will start off and say, for me, the both in-person and letters that we got from students who talked about missing instruction, especially in their AP and honors classes in the high school, to celebrate holidays that are important to their family, even if it was an excused absence, for that was very telling to me, and that sat very much into my consideration. The other thing that there was a number of comments that talked about the majority of people. We've had surveys from, we did not do a survey this year of the community, but people talking about the majority of people and voted, had expressed interest in the federal-only calendar. And I kind of am concerned about that, because the inclusive holidays we have are not a majority of our population. They are in fact a minority. And I feel like we're marginalizing people if we go with a majority opinion, because there is not a majority in our community that celebrates those holidays. So those 2 things were the things that were most important to me in coming to a decision, but I open it up for others to discuss.
So a couple of things before commenting on the overall piece that came up during the process, which are not necessarily reflected here, but I just want to put context to that. There was some discussion, I know, in some of
but I opened it up for others too.
At least one of the Zoom things that we did about the Friday before Labor Day. And I just want to add context to that. And people came up during comments about, well, we could go back to the teachers' union and whatnot. Actually, that piece was a piece that was negotiated when the district used to start after Labor Day. We used to start immediately after Labor Day, and that was something that was worked out between the district and the teachers, that they would start the week before Labor Day, but that Friday would be a day off, so that it would be the Monday and Tuesday professional days, and then Wednesday and Thursday, so that it is not, I think, from people that either, maybe don't have as much history back to that part of when we started that late, to maybe understand that that was something that was carefully discussed, and that is not just an easy kind of, we're going to swap that out type of a thing. The other piece that I had heard from some teachers has to do with when students have to miss holidays that they celebrate or they recognize, and the teachers, people talked about concerns about lost instructional time because of there not being school on certain holidays right now. But the other side of that is also that if those are days that are in school for the majority of students, and that the students who are observing the holidays, the teachers are not allowed to give quizzes, tests, projects, and it's lost instructional time either way. In my mind, I think that piece gets a little bit lost for people, that if it's a day when teachers can't do certain things, it's not a day that is fully instructional, and that in a way we're losing the instructional time twice, both in the fact that the students aren't there, but also in the fact that teachers can't do all of the things that they would like to do based on the way the curriculum is going along. The other piece that I think I would echo what you said. I think that it's hard when we're coming at, if you look at a federal-only holiday, and as opposed to looking at what I think some perceived was a majority, although it didn't feel like that survey really had a clear directive, and that's why we didn't make a change last year. But I do have concerns with the federal-only holiday, really only recognizes certain holidays. With all, transparency, I happen to celebrate the holidays that are recognized in the federal calendar. I don't feel right saying that it's just federal holidays and not acknowledging that if we go with that calendar, that there are people who have lost the ability to have those days for their families, whether they're, observances or celebrations or whatnot. I also do feel that as our student body has become more diverse, I think that we're not looking to add holidays this go-around. It's what we've been doing for the past couple of years. I think that I have been pleased to see that my own students, my own children, that their understanding of some of the diversity in the district and the observances that other students are having is greater than if they just went to school. And again, I think it's great when teachers talk about different holidays and things going on, but that also takes away potentially from the curriculum if you're using that day instead of doing what is on, your math or whatever subject it is to study the holiday rather than letting students observe them at home and kind of have that piece. So that's.
Thank you.
So for me, I think that our inclusive calendar reflects a commitment to who we are as a district. Hopkinton has observed these additional holidays for several years, and doing so has helped ensure that students and staff from Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, and East Asian communities feel that their traditions are respected and that they fully belong here. In the broader climate we're living in, where many families are feeling less secure, where anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and other forms of bias are on the rise, this, I don't think, is the moment to step back from practices that affirm inclusion. Our calendar is a small but meaningful way that we demonstrate that all means all, and that's not just a slogan, but something we live out in our structures and our decisions. This is not a statement against federal holidays or traditions that many of us hold dear. It's a decision on my part to continue honoring the diversity that is already present in Hopkinton and to send a clear message to every student and family that you belong here.
Well, in my time on the school committee, I've found that any discussion on this really splits the town. If we keep it, half the town's going to be upset. If we change it, another half of the town's going to be upset. So my position was always just leave it the way it's been. Everyone's sees where it's at. The only thing that pushed me to move off of that was the testing. I forget, what was the name of the HVAC company that, I forget the name of.
CMTA?
Yeah, CMTA, that how hot those rooms get, and just getting kids and some staff out of school earlier in June. Looking at, I have to look at this kind of upside down, in some years it's significant, it's 4, 5, 6 days, and others it's not. I'm for not just my religious holidays, but I prefer a more religious society, than, even if it's not my own, so I'm supportive of that as well. My concern is what happens if other religions or existing religions that are included as days off. What if other people raise their hand and say, this is an important day in my religion, or I have another religion, and I just don't want to have us go down. It could be a bit of a slippery slope saying, hey, we got, I don't even know how many we have, 7 religious holidays. Well, there's 2 more that I'd like. I'm not saying me, but just if someone raises their hand, and at what point do we say, no, we can't take that religious holiday off? How do we handle that as a committee or as a district?
I think our calendar is reflective of other communities in our area.
Okay, but I'm saying we're keeping this because
nobody else has added other holidays.
Okay. What if that happens?
Then we have a conversation and we
Okay.
engage with the community and we discuss what makes the most sense for our district.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure what else
Yeah.
we could say
Okay.
as far as what we would do. Because to debate hypotheticals, I don't know is going to move this decision forward. And so if the hypothetical occurs, I think it's absolutely a worthwhile conversation.
This is outside a little bit outside the bounds of what the prescribed conversation was, but and maybe not something for consideration this year, but as a non-educator, I do wonder if there are any wiggle room around things like the election day. I know that's used as a professional day. Is there a different way that could be used that would allow for another day? And I know if we do one day by one day, it's not going to make a big dent, but something to maybe look at kind of down the line. Are there other areas besides holidays?
There were a few questions about the February and April holiday, and I know we had concerns about that because we would be in a vacuum if we were to make that change, if it were a wider Massachusetts conversation.
And that actually came up during one of the iterations of the calendar committee that I was on prior to having been on the school committee. I think it raises a lot of different issues rather than solve it. So I know that that's problematic. I wouldn't personally look to eliminate or change, modify the February and April breaks, but are there other days in there that could be done with an early release or something of that nature?
Yeah, and perhaps that's something to consider as we move forward, to look into, are there days that we have off that we could shift to a partial day, an early release? I know during one of our listening sessions, someone brought up that it feels like a burden for K-5 families, which I have 3 kids who are in K-5, that it's tough having those early releases for teacher conferences. And, should we look at combining to make one full day off for teacher conferences? But that would actually push our calendar later.
Mm-hmm.
That would not help as far as the end of year timing. And so to me, I'm like, I think the early release makes more sense.
Yeah, and I can just talk from a perspective of the full day.
Yeah.
So if we had some internal conversations about that, and if we were to look at that, I mean, it's one day.
Yeah.
But if we were to look at that, then we probably would have to take 2 other days for PD, for half-day PDs, right, to make up for that time contractually that we have for PD. So we'd go from a day off to 2 early releases, but get out a day earlier. I think some years, depending on the scale of the election, because it's held at the middle school, it's really challenging. So could be something we take year to year, depending on what the election is. Is it a presidential election? Is it a local? Is it some, so things to think about. But that could be a day that we could play around with and just separate that PD to different days throughout the course of the year and 2 early releases.
Yeah, I think there's value to finding these ways to get a little more creative with the days, because any day that we're pulling back is one fewer days in the potential heat of June, and it's getting warmer, we're getting less snow, we're getting more heat. And I think that sounds promising also as a way that we can continue to support our community and also find ways to end a little earlier, if that's what people are really concerned about.
Well, I don't think there's any way to end earlier with the current calendar, right? I mean,
Well, no, that would be a way.
Getting one day. Again, I think
Okay.
I think one day isn't significant. And again, I think the decision is we'll keep the inclusive calendar. We're just Hopkinton just gets out later.
Not that much later.
I don't really see any other way around it, right? Unless we once a month Saturday class, Evan.
Oh, that would be super popular.
I think you should definitely be involved in the negotiations for that.
I'm sure the attendance rate would be really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
The high school, you can speak on behalf of the students, they're definitely advocating for it.
Definitely, I mean, older ones working.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People with jobs, weekends are tough.
All right. Do we have a motion? Oh, you had another.
Oh, I was just going to add one last thought, is that after we initially had adopted the more inclusive calendar, that a couple of things happened. One is conversations I had with people in the community that felt very validated by the calendar, but also I had 8th grade civics students that were reaching out to me from other districts to ask about our process and interest in advancing it in their own districts.
I can tell you I had other school committee chairs reaching out to me that are trying to do the same with their calendar. People are watching us and they're doing similar efforts.
well, I think, to Chris's point, whatever we do, half the people are going to be mad at us either way, but.
I'm used to a lot of people don't like me. So it's
see it,
okay.
yep.
It's no problem. I'm fine with it. Kind of like it.
Well, I like you. May I make a motion?
Yeah.
For us to approve the 2026-2027 calendar with our current holiday observances that we've been having in place.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It passes. Thank you.
I appreciate all the conversation that we
Yes.
had and the feedback we got from the community.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so we're on to our last agenda item, so I'd like to recommend that the school committee approve the items by consensus as listed in your packet.
I move to approve the items by consensus.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Me too. It passes. And
I move to adjourn the meeting.
great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all, everyone, for coming.
So I have to.
Yeah.
Joining.
It's exciting to have so many people in the room.
Yeah, you come every week.
Great, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Joe's